A quick warning, this episode contains conversations about mental health and alcoholism. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, I'm Carmen.
I'm Jackie.
And I'm Emily, also known as Douglas.
And we're your hosts. Welcome to Generation SOS On Record, a podcast that invites people to share their uncensored stories about mental health and substance use. We invite you to open your minds and your ears and allow these stories to speak louder than statistics ever could.
I never really had someone that was going through the same
that
thing.
Musicians feel deeper.
You kind of feel like you can't tell anyone, which is like the opposite of what you should do.
Saying that I'm too young to have been included in a conversation, which I kind of call bullshit on.
We are recording, so welcome, Mari. Thanks for coming on today and taking time out of the day. We're really excited to have you here, and I will pass this on to Douglas to start it off with a question.
Douglas,
it's Carmen! Douglas isn't even here, guys. It's literally Carmen alone on the podcast. For reference, okay, so Mari, where are you in the world right now? Where are you living? How old are you, etc.?
So I am in Wilmington, North Carolina. I've been here for about 2 years, a little over. I'm 24. Right now I'm a waitress. But as far as everything else, I moved here in 2020 after I graduated from USC, South Carolina. And then I went to grad school here and I got my master's in social work, and I worked in the field for a little bit. I realized it wasn't something I actually loved. I've been taking kind of a pause, and I'm waitressing at a cafe called Drift, which I love because I love coffee. And I live with my dog. I just got a house with my dog, so I'm super stoked about that.
So I guess kind of building off of that, you went for social work. Did you want to be a therapist? Did you want to work for more macro-wise, like in the government and DSS kind of thing?
I went and I got, it was like clinical social work, so I wanted to be more micro work. And I did the quick program. I did the advanced one because I had my bachelor's in social work, so it was a lot faster. It was more focused on modalities and stuff, addiction, mental health, and obviously I have a history with that. That's why you guys asked me to be on this. So in my head I was like, oh, I'm gonna go, work, and I have the experience personally, so it'll be so fulfilling. And so I worked as an addictions counselor for a little bit and mental health, and I learned a lot. It was difficult to prioritize my own recovery and taking care of me when I was very invested in others.
Yeah. So when did you realize that you yourself had a problem with addiction?
Oh, girl. So
let's hear it.
Let's get deep, guys. Let's get into it.
I'm let's just get into the meat and potatoes, baby. I definitely drank in high school a lot. But that's when I was kind of introduced to alcohol and partying. I know you went to Huff. I'm not really sure what your experience was like, but mine was a little bit chaotic. I was going through a lot of stuff at home, and I think I realized alcohol was something for me that was a crutch, and I relied on it heavily to socialize and to feel comfortable with myself. So I think as soon as I started drinking, I was oh, this probably isn't so healthy. But then when I went to college, I was surrounded by alcohol all the time, and other things too. I joined a sorority and I did all this stuff, and yes, it was so much fun, but so much of my identity was alcohol and partying and drinking. But for a while, I had a really hard time differentiating between like, is this an addiction or is this the social norm and I'm just conforming to it and like doing what everybody else is doing. But, you know, as time went on and like the more I drank, I was just like, I knew deep down, like something's not right. And also my mom's an alcoholic and she's sober and I love her. But, you know, you would have thought that I would have taken that and been like, oh, maybe I have a problem too, but I just didn't. Or I think I knew, but I just didn't want to like actually acknowledge it. So
When you were struggling, when did you decide to get sober? And when was that? Do you have a peak moment in your story that you're like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. Like I feel like shit and it's just not aligned with myself anymore.
yes. So I would say that there were a few, I mean, my relationship with alcohol was never like good, you know, like it was never like, wow, that was a great night. Like I made so many great choices. Like it was never positive really. Like it was always fun in the beginning and then it would escalate and, you know, it just wasn't pretty. But there were a few times like I had gone to the hospital and like gotten in trouble with conduct a number of times. And I guess that was like my freshman and sophomore year of college. And I kind of just like was in denial. Like I remember I got committed to this like psych unit in the hospital. I was like, I fell asleep on the sidewalk downtown after like we won a basketball game or something. And I wouldn't wake up and like somebody had to call the ambulance and I was at the hospital and I had a social worker and she came in and was like, yeah, so like you have a problem with alcohol. And I was like, I just don't think so. Like, you know, I didn't eat all day and like I took my Lexapro and I drank on an empty stomach. So like, of course I got like so drunk, but it's like, I knew. But I wasn't ready. I went to the hospital a few times and those were like big moments of like, ooh, this is probably not gonna go too well for you if you don't make a change. But then I functioned, like I was a functioning alcoholic, like I did well in school, kind of, probably because I was also taking a lot of Adderall and like, you know, so it wasn't all healthy, but I made it work. I had a job, like I was somewhat maintaining relationships, but it was very chaotic and like unmanageable. And I think my senior year, I started doing like a lot of coke, which was definitely when I was like, whoa, like this has got to stop. And that was my senior year of college. And even some of my friends, I had, you know, talked to them about me thinking I may have a drinking problem. And they were always just like, I don't think so. Like, we're at a party school. We all drink as much as you do, which like kind of was true, but not really. I started doing coke a lot more and I was like the only one of our friends who like would seek it out. Like I would start drinking and then I would be like, oh, I really want to do coke. Like, it's so fun. And like some of my peers were just like, Mar, like you got to stop. And that's when it was just like very out of control for me. And like I also was going through some personal things, so it kind of makes sense why my behaviors were pretty erratic. But yeah, I just remember like feeling terrible. Like I would start drinking and like go out and then get coke and then like stay up till not go to bed till like 8 or 9. Just the next day I would feel absolutely terrible. And I'd be like I had a big moment where I literally like got on my knees. I was like, God, like whatever, like I cannot do this anymore and I need help. So then it was, I want to say like February of 2020, USC had a collegiate recovery called Gamecock Recovery. So I reached out to them. They were so nice and like didn't push anything on me. And I was just like, look, like, I think I have a big issue. Like, I don't know what to do about it. I'm like embarrassed to talk about it because I feel ashamed, etc. And they were super, super like kind and accepting. And I tried like, doing some meetings there. I didn't like fully commit to sobriety because I was still in college and like I was around alcohol and I wasn't really changing like my people or my places or my things. Like I was still in the same environment, but it was a seed planted. And then I got like my sobriety date is July 3rd, 2020. So I have a little over like 2 years. And I tried on my own like a few times and it did not work. Like and then COVID hit, which was like kind of a God thing or whatever. I was like, what? So it forced me to really like take a look at myself and also acknowledge that I had a problem. And like, if I wasn't going to do anything about it, then like, sure, I would maybe manage my life to like some degree, but it just would not be peaceful. Like I would have no contentment. I would probably die eventually. And like, thank God I never got a DUI or hurt anybody, but it would have just spiraled. So COVID was when I was like, okay, like, and I would try to do a few days on my own. And then I would do like Zoom meetings on like AA or something, which I totally like did not want to do ever. I was like, I'm not doing that. But I tried it and then I would get like a week of sober time and then I would go back to school and like drink wine. And I was just kind of like, it wasn't really working. But I had already had a plan to go to grad school. So I was like, well, I'm going to move to Wilmington and I'm going to get sober there, like actually do it. And I did.
Absolutely relatable, I think, to so many, including myself in some aspects. So like, thank you for giving that to people to relate to and listen to. I have a question, just a student in college right now, dealing with friendships and relationships and party culture. It sounds like you had some friends who were like, nah, we're all doing this. Like, come on, we're all getting drunk. It's normal. And some friends who were like, Mari, what are you doing? You need to get it together. Did either of those speak to you more? Did you find yourself, being more drawn to those who seemed accepting of you? Or like, how did those relationships work? And then also like as a follow-up, as a friend in college, like what did you need from them?
That's a really good question. So I'll be honest, like a lot of the people I surrounded myself with behaved the way I did. So like it made me feel okay about my behaviors and like they didn't really call me out on anything. I had some shitty friends and I was also a shitty friend. Like I was selfish. And then I had like one or two people who were concerned and like probably resentful towards me because I was a mess. And I remember there was like a time or two where they were like, what are you doing? Like you always say you're gonna change, and you're not, you're still doing the same thing, which was true. Like, but that kind of like angry approach was not helpful to me because I was just kind of like, well, you're judging me, and in hindsight now I can say, well, they were right. But at the time it didn't do good. The people who helped the most were like my true friends who like cared about me, and they were never telling me like you need to do X, Y, and Z. They were like just listening, and like I felt safe enough to talk to them about like how I truly was doing, which was the most helpful because I didn't feel like I had to kind of mask what was going on because it's like not something that's fun to talk about. And like that was the biggest thing for a while. I didn't want to admit I had a problem because I felt like that made me weak. And also it's just like not very common to be in college and not drink, or at least that's what I thought. And now I realize like there are actually people who do other things.
But yeah, I mean, there's a culture. I've been thinking about it recently. It's like, yeah, it's fun and all, but I feel like the goal often is to not remember things, which has broader implications. If I want to read into it, I don't mean to be like the vibe killer here, but like, why are we all trying to forget every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night? And why are they no fun if we remember them? What is your life like now being sober? Like, what does that look like on a day-to-day basis? Because you have 2 years under your belt, which congratulations. That's
Congratulations.
huge. That's huge. But what does that look like for you right now?
Oh, I get emotional talking about it because it's so good. Like,
Yeah.
I'm also PMSing a little. so incredible. Like, and that's not to say that there like weren't very, very hard times, and like there still are. But today, I mean, like, I don't drink, which is great. And that doesn't mean I judge people who do, but for me, you know, it's like I can't. So there's no like chaos. I am working in a place that I like love. Like, I have really close friends who like care about me and are people who are like working on themselves and growing too. I've been able to, you know, like heal a lot, and like I'm in the process of that. I think that we drink, or at least individuals experiencing addiction or not, like drink for a number of reasons: social anxiety, or you know, trauma, or whatever. But there's always something behind it, and so now that I don't have any crutch, I'm able to like actually take a look at those things and do something constructive and healthy about them, which like takes time, and it will probably be a lifelong thing. I'm able to now, and I think that's a gift. And the first year was terrible, like not in a negative way, but in like when you remove a substance, you're physiologically like, what the fuck is going on? So like your emotions are re-regulating, and you're just like learning how to live in kind of an alcohol crazed society. Not that the entire society is, but it is a huge norm. It was very hard, but like there are so many tools and resources, and like I have a community of like sober women here and men who are like my family and like my friends, and like a safe space for me to be myself and like come to them with like issues or, you know, just difficult situations. So I have that support, and that's like the biggest thing. Like I could not have done it alone, and I tried to for so long, but that was just not working. So yeah, I mean, I'm still figuring things out, and life, it doesn't get easier. Like you just learn how to cope with it in a healthy way. I mean, technically I'm supposed to be like anonymous, but whatever. I like do AA, and like thank God that shit saved my life, because, and I say that, you know, we're technically like, you're only supposed to say it if you think it's gonna like be helpful to somebody else, and like it was so helpful to me. And like for the longest time I would like, no, I'm not doing that. Thank God there's like normal people, like there's cool people my age. I mean, there's some cute men in there. Like, it's not what I thought it was. It's good. I mean, much better than what it was before.
That's incredible to hear. I'm so happy you shared that, because that's not always the case immediately after. And like I was saying, 2 years is a significant chunk of time, but in the grand scheme of things, like you also have more time for it to feel better and calm down. But it sounds like it's gotten there already for you, and like you just feel happy, which is the main thing. Like, but the happiness part is what matters to all of us. So
It's so normalized that people almost are like, well, why don't you drink? Certain people who don't understand those boundaries are like, why would you not drink? You know, it's our thing. Now we have this age, like, why would we not drink our socks off? I've had this conversation with one of my friends recently, being like, hey, you'd rather fix the problem now than when you have a family. You have really fucking big responsibilities that you have to take care of. And so I'm really glad that you put yourself first, especially so young, and that trickles into so many aspects of your life. So, you know, I saw that you're a recovery coach. Has that a positive impact for you during your, you know, sobriety?
Kind of. I'm not doing that right now. I started it and I was like, and I was also kind of doing it in my job at work too, because a lot of my clients were, sober and like new to AA and needed guidance. And then I like started a podcast on recovery stuff, and then it honestly fizzled out, and so I'm not doing that anymore. At least for me, I need to kind of focus on my own stuff. And there are a lot of ways to be of service to other people struggling with addiction, like I sponsor some people and stuff like that. So I just kind of got to a point where I realized, okay, I'm doing this, but in a different way. So no more recovery coach, but
I think that's great. I think that is so impressive, again, at this time in your life, to be like, there's a lot I could be doing. There's also a lot of life left to be doing it. Like, this is your time. Again, I applaud you. Not my place to applaud you, but it's a good lesson. I'm younger than you, so I need that, I need to know, like, the things that are helping other people but hurting me more than they're helping. That's not what you need to be doing.
Well, y'all are so sweet. Thank you.
No, I've just loved speaking to you. Again, I think a lot of people will resonate. I don't know, Carmen, you have any last words, or if you do, Mari?
Well, real quick, I just wanted to say that kind of being sober for you, it sounds like it was selfish in a very selfless way, because now it sounds like you're showing up better as a friend, or you got to work on yourself to give that back to the world, to be the best you can for others. And, now your values have changed. You're surrounding yourself by people who are more in line with you. And I think that what else should you be doing in this world, right? Like, that's exactly what you should do. And even though values change, I'm so happy that, you've really stuck to those.
Thank you, guys. Y'all are so sweet, and you're smart. It's so funny because I literally, I'm not that much older, but like when I was in school, I literally thought the only way was like party, and it's like, no, there's so much more to life. Yeah. Oh, and then I want to say one last thing that I've already said, but I want to emphasize so much. Like if y'all know somebody who is struggling with addiction, and I'm sure you may already know this, but like the most important thing in my journey that I wish like I had more guidance was that like it's okay to ask for help, and it's not a weakness. Like it's actually like so brave, because, and like I know a lot of like young people who struggle with substance use and don't say anything because they're scared, or like they're afraid of what's on the other side, but like it's just so beautiful what's on the other side. Like, yeah, it's hard, but it gets better. So I just hope that people know it's okay.
For more conversations like these, or to find a support system near you, go to generationsos.org.